Hi there. So when we first started recording, the mics weren't working. So I'm gonna voice over for about 4 minutes here, and then you will get Dan's direct instruction and our conversation as this demo was happening. But here you see him just charcoaling in some design to start, and he's using no reference for this whole video, so just making it up in from his head. And I'm going to talk you through the colors here. So he's just mixing his light, and he's using lemon yellow and titanium white. You can also use yellow pale, cad yellow pale, or lemon yellow. Do the same thing, and that's Dan's primary light mixture in all of his paintings. Okay, so he's moving into the sky and ocean color here, and he just used some ultramarine blue, some turquoise, and some ivory black. And I hold up that tube of turquoise in a little bit here so you can see it, but it is, the brand we're using is 1980, and it's just called turquoise. All right, so he's just making a slightly darker version of that same color. So ivory black, ultramarine blue, a little bit of white. So there we go. That's the turquoise color that I want you guys to see. He's mixing a little bit of Gamsol in to thin out his paint just a little bit. Okay, now even darker version, ultramarine blue. A little bit of yellow there. That was raw sienna and some Van Dyke brown. So he's tilting it a little bit, touch towards green, but also that was ivory black, darkening it and neutralizing it with the Van Dyke brown, also warming it up a little bit. More turquoise and ultramarine blue in that mid-tone. He might just have wanted a bigger pile. Okay, so turquoise and white and the yellow he grabbed was a little bit of yellow ochre, and he also put some Van Dyke brown in that one too. All the browns in these mixers are just to cut the saturation just a bit. And that's going to be a really pretty turquoise that he'll use in the water. So that row above is going to be water and sky. Here's his darkest value at this point. So that was just straight Van Dyke brown. And you will see him use just pure black later on, but he usually saves that till towards the end, later stages of the painting. Little dioxazine.
So I'm going to start with the most distant first, which the sky's the most distant. Sky, and there's often a marine layer. So the sky, oftentimes at the sea, the sky gets a little darker toward the horizon, which can be interesting. So I'm going to imagine that's happening. And imagine is the word because everything in this picture is imaginary. So I'm going to get a little bit of a purple down here. So now that I threw some purple into that marine layer, I'm going to put some of this purple you have. What is that called, Tim?
It's just called Lavender by Michael Harding.
It's nice.
It's a really nice color.
Since I put some of that purple in the sky, lavender, I'm going to put it into the distant horizon. Paradoxical thing about painting at the ocean is that I found myself, wanting distant things that recede and roll away from us to be soft. But it's awesome. Often the horizon line of the ocean is razor sharp. So I'm going to make it razor sharp, at least for now. Change my mind later if need. I'm going to make everything kind of dark and may even seem ominous at this point.
That's okay. I know it won't be like that, but.
Well, and the idea is to have a lot of darkness, so the whites are quite outstanding. Let me get a little richer as it comes forward. I think that's just a bit too green, so I'm going to go with this.
So the ocean gets greener as it gets closer to you, the water?
I don't know, it can.
Okay.
It can get really green up close with clean, clear water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to let it develop some of this turquoise color up here. Okay, that's maybe a few too many colors going on. So
A surprise for you.
So if they're run together, then I don't think it'll be too much. Okay, there's a starting point. So I have these two obstacles in the foreground. This is intended to become a rock, and this will be wet sand. And this will be kind of shiny reflections in the sand. This I'm intending to be a wave, a dark rock. So there'll be this one's going to have a significant slope diagonal this way, and this one will be kind of a diagonal, but quite a bit of it tilted more vertically. This I intend to make shallow water, and then this sand.
Mm-hmm.
So oftentimes when this turquoise shallow water turns in, it starts running aground into the sand. Well, you can't even tell where the sand starts and the water begins, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'm going to do is just paint it like you can't even tell. So I'm going to make a color for the sand. And sand gets darker where it's wet. Now you can the transition between wet sand and dry sand, that's usually pretty obvious value-wise. But transition between water and wet sand, oftentimes it's not obvious, and that can make for a really subtle and beautiful part of an ocean painting.
So this is the dry sand that you're mixing right now?
Mm-hmm.
And he just mixed Naples yellow, Van Dyke brown, and white.
And I think some raw sienna could be nice.
Actually, and I think you did put a little yellow ochre in it.
Well, not yet. I put just Van Dyke, Naples yellow, and white, but I'm going to put some raw sienna in. Okay, before I get too carried away with all this, I'm going to put these gentle rolling waves in the distance. They're not breaking over. So I have the leading edge sharp and the trailing edge really soft on these two. Did we do a recording of that one ocean painting I did a few years ago? Made up one.
The demo?
Yeah.
I don't think we recorded that. I remember the demo.
Yeah.
It was a big group.
There was I covered a lot on that. It's hard. Now it's kind of hard for me to recall but one of the things that I know I'm interested in expressing, because I see it all the time, is that this may be repeating, but I mean, I know it's repeating, but so when we're looking at the surface of a wave, and I'm going to use hand gestures here in front of the camera. So you'd see this peak that's kind of traveling towards you, right? So the steep surface we're looking into is going to. Well, let me back up a little bit. The sun's coming from behind us, so you would think that the areas that are perpendicular to the light source are going to be brighter. And it always is on opaque things. But water does the opposite. It's darker on the areas that are advancing, that are tilted toward the light source. And the ambient light from the sky, from behind, is actually brighter. And that's because that acts like a mirror of the sky. It's tilted toward the sky. And the part that's tilted toward us of each wave is like a window that we're looking into the water, and that's why it's darker. And I'll be kind of repeating that as this goes on. And how water in general behaves. You see that it's not just the ocean. You'd see that on, even on a really calm pond, in river water. You see that in all sorts of places. And I want to give this distant water just a bit of a rolling effect. So I'm bringing this top sky color down into the water.
Just the white cat.
Yeah. And well, these are really just the backside of each wave that's tilted away from us is the light part.
So not necessarily the foam, just where the light is catching. I understand.
Yeah, and because of underwater terrain, the distant waves are really, I mean, that's provided the underwater terrain tilts away kind of gently, not a steep slope. They're really calm out there, but sometimes barely visible. And as they get closer, they get larger and larger. and because they're kind of confronting the underwater terrain, and there's more lift. And as they get really close, they can rise up huge. This is convenient for us artists because we like for the big things to be closer. So if the big waves are far away and little ones were up close, it would be kind of confusing from a perspective sense.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I'm going to do some practicing here of foam on the water, of those like hexagonal shaped patterns,
Uh-huh.
and it'll be kind of flattened out with regard to us. Those are a lot of fun. And because they're flattened out, they have an elliptical sort of quality. Well, just, I guess to simplify things, these
It's wider than it is tall.
Yeah.
Right?
There you go. That's a good way to put it. And because of linear perspective, these forms get larger, as they get closer. All right, that's enough of that for now.
So that's going to be a wave going the whole way across, huh?
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm thinking. That's what it seems like so far. We'll see what it turns into. As if the charcoal would blow off, but it doesn't. It's maybe just a little too much yellow I put in there, so. A mixture of this really kind of yellowish white with pure white will be kind of nice, I think. It can vibrate like a bit of a broken color.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to pull some of this sky color into the tops. And some of it into some of the turquoise color into the bases. So what I'm going to want is an advancing wave with a really clear leading edge. So let's see. So our friend the palette knife is really good for that. And it's too yellow, but I'll be modifying that. So I'm going to make it distinct in a couple places, and then do you like that and then vague in places, and then distinct again. Palette knives, you were talking about that yesterday, I think. It can be used to distribute color in a way that's
Yeah, that looks good.
Then I'm going to put something, just a
little shadow.
Yeah, a little something. Honestly, I feel a little like formulaic what I'm doing here.
Little Bob Rossi.
Little Bob Rossi. But to paint the ocean, you're relying on patterns.
Well, yeah, I mean, basically a formula is a pattern.
That's what it is.
So you can't be too allergic to formula.
Because there are repeating characteristics.
But I mean, is the dark the shadow, or is that just the different?
I'd say it's a kind of a concave area under the water cresting.
Okay.
But see, what we have to have then will be this kind of favorite thing of mine would be this kind of reflection onto the wet sand or shallow water, whichever it is. And the reflection, just like the doorway at night, it's going to be only the light parts really reflect. Illuminate or cast something off.
But it won't happen farther back in those.
Well, it will if. Well, okay, we can put a crest breaking over there. We can do that. I'd like to add that. Okay. So that would be a good addition.
Well, the back one looks like it already. Not the front one, but the back one.
Yeah. Looks like it could be.
Looks like a little crest to me.
We could kind of accentuate that. To me, that's just I just love doing that at the ocean, to have this water kind of, so there won't be, it'll be clearly bound here. And since these are low, they're not going to produce much of a reflection. This one, well, I'm going to have a rock here, so no reflection there, at least not yet. But
the reflection of the rock will probably be there, right?
Yes. Or strictly speaking, of blocking the sky reflection.
Yeah. Right. So that's the wave behind it. You're assuming that it's high enough to still reflect past the rock?
That's right.
Okay. Okay, so you just made that rock in front different local color variation, is that?
Because there's, for one thing, they have varying local colors, but the other thing is, say, this is drenched wet and this is just a little drier. I'm going to lay some pure black in there, see if it makes any difference. A little bit, not much.
Some water?
Mm-hmm.
Some more rocks
Mm-hmm.
under there, yeah.
Some rocks and nondescript, unknown substances. A lot of this, what I'm doing, I'm just going by feel, with no plan. But this rich blue feels. God, it sounds so ridiculous, but it feels kind of harmonious to me. And now I just got the idea to put some of it. The wet rock could be picking up some sky color.
Mm-hmm.
Get a variety of edges inside this rock. Mainly I put a soft edge at the bottom and a sharp edge at the top of, various sub rocks.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's looking like something.
So what I'm planning on doing is getting some pure whites in here to vibrate against the yellow.
I was wondering if you're going to get any more light midtones in there.
Yes, I am. So do some altering in there. And this is, I'm planning to make this a big rock. But I think I'm going to turn it into a couple of different rocks. because it seemed like the masses were so equal.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to make this kind of coming in, this some
Mm-hmm.
dark rocks up here.
Mm-hmm. Let's see that.
It seemed like I had these equal bookends.
Uh-huh.
So I'm going to just make it a little less so. Still bookended, but it's not quite as obviously.
Kind of trickles out.
Yeah. This was going to be a dark rock.
I thought so too.
I thought so, but it changed its mind. But it's going to have a little dark mass under it.
I would love to have the repertoire on hand to be able to make this up like you can.
I predict you will. Just by a lot of getting out there and practicing and observing, and you just start to develop this pattern recognition. So I kind of like this design, this series of diagonals going off the same direction, but with every repetition, they're also doing something different. It's a little variation.
Well, it's not the exact same angle.
Right. No, we don't want the exact same angle. So I'm going to make this and keep this one steep and this one kind of flat.
Oh, were they parallel there?
Have
they become parallel?
Not completely parallel, but making even less parallel now. I'm getting a little nondescript here because I'm not sure what's going on.
going to be a rock, right?
Yes, rocks, but there's not well-defined rocks, not yet. But we need some sharp edges on those rocks.
On the top.
Yeah, on the tops. Yeah, I'm not sure about this angle, so I think I'll... I'm going to wait a while on that.
He is stumped, folks. You were cruising along there.
Yeah, we'll come back. Stump the chump. Look at it in the mirror. Oh, that's a good idea. Oh, thanks. Thanks. So I started defining a direction here. You know, at first I thought it was going to come from this way, but now it's coming from the opposite direction. This kind of ocean current.
Okay.
And so from here, and then it's going to continue a little bit this way. And so now I'm just making a little definition to this kind of explosive force that happens when the wave meets the rocks. And you get some of this turquoise churning up into it.
Mm-hmm.
So yellow's a bit much. But I think it's going to, I'm going to see if it works. See if we can make it vibrate with some pure white on there. Vibrate in the sense of the way that broken color vibrates.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was the best gift to us from the Impressionist period, is broken color. And the pure white sort of optically reduces the saturation of that yellow.
Uh-huh. So if the light is coming from behind, there's really going to be no like shadow side of the wave. You know, I was doing those copies and it was clear that the light was coming from the side.
Okay.
So there was, you know, it was kind of like a sphere in some ways that the wave had a clear shadow side, and it really helped to give the wave dimension.
Well, you know what? I have the light coming from straight behind us, but I could angle it a little bit because I wouldn't mind having some shadowy parts of waves.
Yeah, it seems like it would give it depth.
Mm-hmm. Depth and a little bit more variety of color.
I'll be curious how you do that.
So I could have pure white out of the tube in fairly thick quantities. Relatively thick, thicker than what I've got on here so far. So a brush isn't going to really do what I want here, so I'll use a palette knife. So I can get it. Oops. I almost crashed it. And we'll do the famous comb over.
It's funny. There's a name for it. I never heard of that. The famous, the infamous, the one and only. Here it comes.
Yeah. I never heard of it either.
The flat and drag.
Mm-hmm.
I think palette knives are just so fun.
Oh, it is.
Like you don't know what you're gonna get, and there's something exciting about that.
Yeah.
That I like what's happening in that right little area over there.
Over here.
A lot of action.
There's a little bit of serendipity involved.
Exactly.
Yep. Same with fingers.
Mm-hmm.
So for that shadow side, I think this would be the right color, that sky color. Say we change the direction of the sun to not directly behind us, but behind us and to the right. Okay. So the shadows be over here. To do this, I'm making progressive sizes of strokes because this explosion, in a way, it has something in common with a cumulus cloud, where it's really defined in the center.
Oh, really? Okay. And softer as it gets out, it goes away from the center.
Yeah. in common with a cumulus cloud or with a leafy tree.
Mm-hmm.
It's this kind of outburst from the center.
More rocks?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Just below the surface of the water.
Uh-huh.
So I've got a little bit of a mess here. I don't know what to do with.
I think that's heading in the right direction. Bringing the turquoise over and just having a few standalone rocks or a little pile. Basically, letting the most of the weight be over here,
Mm-hmm.
but and then having it kind of trickle over.
Yeah. So this form, that's a little too parallel for me. So I'm going to figure out what to do there. I think I'll have a triangle, make this triangular shape go outward.
I would think the risk here is having the two waves too similar of a size, the left and the right.
So in reverse, what strikes me is that I want to change is this repeated angle. It's this, which is this angle right here. That's just too obvious, design-wise.
Too similar to the other two angles?
Yeah, too
That
similar
one,
to that, yeah.
and the one
So,
above it too.
yeah,
Yeah.
so that's all right. Be easy to change or to scrub.
For the sake of the viewers, excuse me, maybe you can just point to the angles that we were just saying were too similar.
Okay. Well, the way I had that was just, I mean, I like repetition of angles, but it was just a little too obvious. So still have a little, some repetition of angle, but it's less defined. I think that's one way to put it.
Well, I feel like when it's too obvious, it's almost like you're treating the viewer like they're dumb or something. Like you have to spell it out so you know, like not giving him the credit to be able to, I don't know, appreciate nuance.
So let me see what that looks like. I think I'm getting a little too hung up on this. So. How's that in reverse?
The reflections or the
the whole
composition?
thing. This stuff and the reflections.
Well, I think that stuff on your right needs some clarity.
Okay.
The reflections are looking pretty good. Would the full reflection come down that far? Would it go that far away from the wave?
It depends how
big the wave is.
And how low you are to the ground. If you're really low, it'll come up a long ways. If you're standing up, it won't come that far. You know, I almost forgot one of my other favorite phenomena is how water trickles down the rocks. Just tributaries.
Zoom in.
How long have we been going here?
Over an hour. Before we wrap it up, I want to do a close-up of one of those back waves, and you can re-describe what you're talking about, how it's darker when you're looking into it.
Okay.
Because the wave, it has to be like not crashed to see it.
That's right. It's more evident with a peaked wave. Some waves are round, have round tops, and some have peaked tops. So we'll go into that a little bit. So I'm using the sky color to make these trickling tributaries. So with each tributary, one part will be sharply defined and the other part will be soft.
You're talking about each different edge of the line?
Yeah. Yeah, I think I kind of lost some clarity. So I'm gonna,
Those like darker kind of blobs along your line, is that just like irregularities in the sand?
in the rocks, in the rocks in the sand. These.
Yeah, like when you kind of make you're doing a line and then a blob, a line and then a blob. What's sure.
Okay. Well, this if this is the question you asked, I'm not sure. But say that like the bottom of it where it meets the sand, I'm going to have that sharp, and then the tops of it where it rolls away from us have that soft. And that's what I've been doing over here.
Yeah, I get that. I'm talking about basically these lines are like indentations, irregularities of the ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then when you make more of a blob, like here, and these little ones, it's like a bigger impression.
Yeah,
in
I'm
the
not too
sand.
satisfied with that yet. So I'm going to do a little, kind of go into maybe these can be some, indentations, some cavitations in the
Right,
sand.
that's what I'm asking exactly. Like a footprint or a rock print or just
Yeah.
debris.
Mm-hmm. So what has made this project easier is to pre-mix a bunch of related colors in a sequence, and then you just have them at your disposal and they're going to be unified. Going, it's kind of it's in a whole key of blue-green, going from purple to yellow across that direction. So kind of going two directions at once across the spectrum. So I'm going to do some of my favorite little designs back here. These flattened out hexagons. And then more obvious ones back up here. there's got to be a proper name for those. That white foam distribution.
Mm-hmm.
So about the front, advancing sides and back sides of each wave. So we know that opaque objects are going to be brightest where they're most perpendicular to the light source. Well, water does the opposite so many times because it's transparent. And the ambient light on the retreating side of the wave, the opposite side, the back side, it picks up the ambient light of the sky, and it's actually lighter because when we look at the advancing part of the wave, we're looking into the water, and it's dark down under there.
Yeah.
It's like a little window. Here it's completely different because it's opaque. And so the part that's perpendicular to the light source is really lighter, like we would expect, like any sort of opaque object.
That's great. That's exactly what I wanted you to get into.
I tell you what, I found that so confusing for years, and yet it's really simple.
Well, I think that came together really nicely.
Well, thanks.
Yeah, good work. It's great.
It's kind of fun for me because I got into it.
We usually do. All right, I'm going to sign off here.
Okay. Well, just a little more. A little more. I'm finding this this unbroken line all the way across a little too continuous. So do that too.
So you just made a separate wave.
Yeah.
Adding that line made it look like another wave breaking.
So when we're on location painting the ocean, all we can really go on is sort of predictable patterns and make things up that would kind of coalesce with those patterns. And because it's never going to hold still, and so we can't get it exactly. And a freeze frame of a photo doesn't quite do it for me either, because it makes a moving thing stop, and we don't see it stopped.
Well, so, maybe we can summarize some of the patterns that you just demonstrated.
Okay, one of which was, the back side of a wave being lighter than the front side, opposite of what we would expect with the sun behind us.
And that's for a curling wave, a wave that hasn't crashed.
Right.
Just to be clear.
Right. If it has crashed, it's going to be white foam, most likely.
Or if it's actually rolled over in the tunnel, if it's a tunnel and you're looking at it right before it crashes, what are you going to see? I guess a lot of
what you're going to see is probably a big highlight on that cylindrical shape. What do they call it? The curl? Surfers. And it's pretty cool when they surf underneath a curl.
Oh, it's amazing.
It's amazing. And but when we're looking at it from the shore, what we see is this kind of shiny cylinder, and if the sun's behind us, there's going to be a sparkling highlight across the center of that curl. And one of the photos we were looking at earlier today did that, and that's something that would be really a lot of fun to capture too. It's just another of the many manifestations of the ocean. It looks different all the time. with different lighting conditions, cloud cover, wave activity, so many things that affect it. And
So a couple other things to summarize that Dan talked about is those octagon shapes that he's going back to now. They contort to the rules of ellipses. So, as it moves down on your painting from the horizon, they're going to open up more. They're going to become taller in relation to their width, just like an ellipse would. What else? So you want, when you're defining the rocks, you want to make the soft edge on the bottom as the rock is turning away from the light, hard edge at the top. Yeah, let me zoom in on those examples there. Right there, you see that? Oh, you talked about a variety of edges where the wave is actually crashing. So a pretty sharp edge. And that front one.
Well, especially where it's behind a rock, you get a real defined line there. And I've got a sharp edge here, but not as much contrast where it's just kind of splashing into the shallow water. And I think I could do a little bit of stuff here.
Just make it a little more organic.
Yeah, make it tie together.
You're putting a little reflection of it?
Yeah, okay. A more obvious reflection.
Also some darker values where the wave is actually hitting the rock. So that, I'll zoom in on it here, that section right around there before the wave gets really white.
No, sorry, I wouldn't.
Just talking about how this is darker.
Oh yeah, because there's a concave shape inside there that lasts for a millisecond. As the wave is curling over, that's sort of what I'm trying to make here.